Dozens of police officers have been convicted of crimes, including rape and sexual assault, since Sarah Everard's murder. I'm going to read into this exclusive from Sky News, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from the Sky News with the headline of dozens of police officers convicted of crimes including rape and sexual assault since Sarah Everard's murder. The exclusive reveals that 3 years on from her murder, Sky News investigates how many police officers have been convicted of crimes in the 3 years since. Guys, while you're here, before I give my initial thoughts and go into the article, if you can hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So I've covered many stories with regards to police and crime. There has been a great deal of loss and disconnect between specifically, I'm going to go specifically England with its police force. There have been many times that many women I think it's fair to say, in this country just simply do not have any faith whatsoever with the police force. And even I think that was even the case even before this horrible tragedy that happened to Sarah Everard. There were in some cases fewer than one, and I will put links in the top right hand corner of some of the videos that I've covered during my time, guys, and it really does highlight just how low our police force really is. Now, I refuse to accept this premise that I keep hearing in my comments whenever I cover stories relating to the police. I refuse to accept this premise, and I'm going to literally put this out there as a fact that not every single police officer is terrible, not every police officer is corrupt, not every police officer is a misogynist and racist person. I'm not going to accept that. You can put that in the comment section if you want to, but I'm telling you as a fact, because I know police officers and I know them very well, who are good, hard-working officers who generally care about the jobs that they do, who are not like that in any way, shape or form. And it is an extremely difficult job, it is an extremely tough job, but unfortunately, to say the least, we have too many police officers. We have a system in the Metropolitan Police specifically where there's institutional racism within it. And what's the answer that we hear all the time? Reform, reform, reform. They're going to reform it. You know, how many times have we heard this about, we're just going to reform the police service, that's going to fix it, that's what we just need to shake things up and all that. No. I've said this before and I've said this again, and I'm going to keep mentioning this. These police forces need to be dissolved. What you do is you build a new police force from scratch, and you do it in cooperation with communities, you do it with councils, with local government, and you do it working in collaboration with the Westminster government. You build them from scratch up. You bring in only 1 or 2 officers from the original police force, and you build up that new force from scratch. And as you build up this new police force with proper laws and restrictions and training and everything that they need in order to give them the best engagements when it comes to dealing with crimes and whatnot, and you get rid of these pathetic old forces stuck entanglements with their old corrupt ways. That's how I would change it, and it would be a long-term project. It's not something that would be. It's not a short-term thing we're talking about here. We're talking about something that would take 5-10 years, and it would need cross-party reference for something like this. So my response is not police reform. It is police dissolve and anew. It's a dissolve and anew police force. But you transition the old one out, wind it down, and you build a new police force from scratch. That's how I would do it, because you're completely eviscerating the history of the old police force and the entanglements of the corruption and whatever that they have gone through. And with a new police force, especially one that has cooperation and engagement and built up through communities, local councils and whatnot, it can bring a better connection into helping reduce crime while also having a stronger connection with those local communities and towns and and villages of where they've come from. This is the premise that I would like to see. Whether or not it can be done and how it would be done, well, obviously there's lots of it's an idea, but whether or not anybody's willing to take on this idea and actually try to implement it is a question. Because these are still happening. These are still happening. And here's what's even more infuriating about this, okay? It's not just the fact that there are still rape and sexual assaults still happening. Okay, that's not just the only thing that really infuriates me, right? For some of these victims, they never get their case. They never get that date in court. You know why? Because it can take up to 5.5 years for some of them for that court case. Because our courts and our justice system has been shrunk thanks to austerity, it takes even longer for some of these victims to have that court case. And if you are a victim, if you happen to be watching this and you're a victim, or you know of someone else a victim, are you really willing to wait 3, 4, 5 years plus that to have a case on this when you want to move on from this? You don't want this. You don't want to be thinking about this, what happened to this day. You want to move on with your life. You know, these women who have suffered these are scarred for life, and they don't want to be overshadowed by it for the rest of their lives. They want to live their lives. And the thing is because the convictions are weak and poor, it gives these disgusting, vile people incentives to do more, because they know of how weak our system is. That's what's even more disgusting about all this. It really, really is disgusting. So dozens of police officers across the UK have been convicted of crimes, including rape, sexual assault and sex offences against children in the 3 years since the murder of Sarah Everard, the new data shows. Against children. Officers have also been convicted of assault, possession of indecent images, harassment and controlling and coercive behaviour since 3rd of March 2021, the day Ms Everard was abducted, Sky News investigation had found. Here's another thing that really infuriates me. The way that police handles its own disciplinary proceedings is crap as well. Doesn't work. The police managing its own investigations on itself, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It should be an independent body should be handling these investigations and whatnot outside of the police control. It shouldn't be something that the police manages himself, because the police will always favour their own officers, which rightfully so that they will do. Whether you agree to disagree, they will always try to protect their own officers, and that's how they should do it. But it should not be them looking into their own cases. It should be by an independent body, in my opinion, neutral of this, so that there is a clear case of how credible a crime has been committed by a police officer. Just 19 forces out, 48 provided details of officers convicted of crimes, with one alleged victim of abuse by a policeman saying the figures are likely to be just scratching the surface. Ms Everard was walking home in Clapham, South London, where she was abducted, raped and murdered and dead by the then serving Metropolitan Police officer Wayne Couzens. Data released by the 19 forces of the Freedom of Information, the FII Act, shows that in the 3 years since Ms Everard's killing, at least 119 officers have been convicted of crimes. The actual number is likely to be much higher, as most forces, including the Met Police, did not provide details of officer convictions. At least 16 officers were convicted of assault or battery, 9 were convicted of rape or sexual assault, with one also convicted of attempted rape, the force is revealed. 4 were convicted of sexual offences against children, including causing or inciting a child to engage in a sexual act, engaging in sexual communication with a child, or sexual exposure to a minor. I hate this. Some 13 officers were convicted of possession of making an indecent images. 4 were convicted of possession with extreme pornographic imagery. How are these people officers? How are these people even police officers? 2 were convicted of fraud, 2 controlling and coercive behaviour, 1 of harassment, and 1 of grievous bodily harm. How are these people? How are they even getting into the police force? How? This is the question you got to ask yourself. How are people like this getting into the police force? How are they getting in? It's just mind-boggling to me. The majority of those convicted were men that served as constables according to the data. Yeah, of course, well, the majority would be men, obviously. The FRI requests were sent to 39 territorial police forces in England, 4 in Wales, Police Scotland and the Police Service in Northern Ireland, as well as the Ministry of Defence Police, the Civil Nuclear Constability and the States of Jersey Police. Some forces did not respond at all, with most citing delays and backlogs in initial email. So they have a list here of which police forces provided data to Sky News. So I'm not going to read out every single one. You can see them there on the list. I'm just going to show. I'll just read that one there. That's Leicestershire Police did provide some details to officer convictions, but did not provide the exact time of conviction, so we're not including Sky News figures. It's just stated there. So yeah, just to point out there. Yeah, you can see all the police forces there. Those that rejected Sky News' request said retrieving details of convictions by officers would require manual reviews of files that would exceed the time limit set out under the FOI Act. Excuse me, we should be entitled. Listen, I don't accept that nonsense whatsoever. If it's a freedom of information request, then we should be entitled to know it. We should be entitled to know it. The Met Police, where Couzens and serial rapist David Carrick and Cliff Mitchell all served, had not responded to Sky News' request at the time of publication. Rick Muir, the director of the Police Foundation think tank, said there is a massive problem with the quality of the data that these forces hold generally. Fretta, not her real name, was married to a police officer who she claims used coercive control against her and allegedly raped her. Now in her 50s, she said the first time she contacted police about his behaviour after he allegedly threatened her with a knife, officers had just words with him when he answered the door. She said she reported him to the police about the alleged rape when she tried to leave the marriage, but she was never asked to provide a statement and was not informed of any further actions against him. This is infuriating. This is infuriating because the police. This is why you need to have some kind of independent body holding the police to account when these kind of things happen, to make sure that the police are actually doing their jobs. There needs to be an oversight. It's just that the system is just does not work. Freta, who set up the website Police Me Too in 2021 to hear the accounts of abuse victims whose perpetrators were police officers, says she has severe PTSD and attempted to take her own life several times as a result of her experience. Freta said the number of known criminals is just scratching the surface due to the difficulties that victims face reporting offences. To me, I felt the organisation's reputation was prioritised over protecting mine and my children's life, she said. When it's a police officer, you don't have anywhere to go. We were told to go to the police, but when it is in the police, who do you go to? Exactly. This is the problem. What do? Write to your MP? You see, this is the issue that I have. To me, this is about a deep ingrained culture that goes back decades within every force in the country. While Mrs. Murr said it was good news that more people were reporting crimes against officers. He added, "It's a negative thing in that it indicates that the culture within policing has allowed some of these people to continue as police officers far too long." On Thursday, Lady Eilish Angley's report into Ms Everard's rape and murder found that Couzens could and should have been stopped, and a call for a radical overhaul of police recruitment to stop another Couzens operating in plain sight. The report highlighted how major red flags about Couzens were repeatedly ignored by police vetting and investigators. In response to the data provided to Sky News, the National Police Chief Council, the NPCC, said forces were working towards a culture in policing where everyone feels they're able to recognise and report concerning behaviour, alongside members of the public reporting any worrying interaction with a police officer. I'm having a very hard time believing that, if I'm absolutely honest. The NPCC chairman, Gavin Stevens, said the harrowing murder of Sarah Everard, carried out by a certain police officer who abused his position of trust, has caused more untold suffering. Wayne Couzens should never have been a police officer. His offending should have been stopped sooner. This should never have happened. As police leaders, we must do everything humanely possible to change policing for future generations, as we are taking actions to ensure that there is nowhere to hide in policing for wrongdoers, that our misconduct and vetting process are reformed, and that our ethics and values are reset. He added, "We know that change has not been quick enough, and there is much more that we must still need to do. We do not underestimate how important it is for the society, and we will not for society, and will not stop until the public, especially women and girls, get the police service that they expect and deserve, and that their confidence in our result and our role as protectors is rebuilt." Just to put on the reference there, if anyone's ever emotionally feeling distressed or suicidal, can call the Samaritan helpline on 116123 or email them at joe@samaritans.org in the UK. For the US, there's a Samaritan branch in your area of 1-800-273-TALK there. I would recommend, obviously, I strongly recommend the Samaritans. I have used them in the past, just for anyone's reference there. If anybody needs it. The police, you hear this talk of, we're going to get on top of it, we're going to fix it, and then you read the headline and you read the article, and you say to yourself, well, they're not on top of it. They're saying we're going to learn from these mistakes. How many goddamn times have we heard them say that they're going to do this? We hear it so many times. I honestly don't care who's in government, yeah, but the government should be doing more should be punishing the police force so much more. They need to do some kind of rapid changes with the police force, like I've said about tearing it completely apart and starting a new force from scratch. Build up a new one and run down these old hash washes of police forces that aren't doing anywhere near enough to protect people on these streets. Nowhere near enough. I know sometimes crime can go up and down, up and down, up and down, but cases like these should never happen. Never happen. And this is a thing that's starting to become an occurrence here in the UK, and it should not be an occurrence. It should not be happening, and we know it should not be happening. My genuine heart goes out to anyone, anywhere, who has suffered from rape, sexual assault, or of any kind out there. And no one deserves this in any way, shape or form, police officer or not a police officer. It is disgusting. There is little to no trust in the police force. And while I do know police officers, and I've had discussions with them about the trust and that, and it's difficult. It is very difficult. But there are far too many officers. The force in general is just letting people down. And I've said what I believe needs to be changed. But what do you guys think? What do you think should be done? What do we think we should do about police forces? How do we restore trust in our police forces? What would you recommend, guys? Ideas and that, please let me know in the comment section down below, and what you thought about this exclusive from Sky News as well. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so other people are aware of this video, and please subscribe because it really would help support the channel. And if you want to financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or you can even join me on Rumble or Patreon for extra content there as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.